To your foundation subjects lesson for today. We're going to be looking at PSHE and we're starting a unit looking at our dreams and goals. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is the dream that you might have for the world. So what you want the world to be, what sort of place you want to grow up in and be an adult in when you're older. So this lesson in particular, we're going to be looking to identify problems in the world that might concern you or concern others and be able to talk about them. So by the end of this lesson, we're hoping that you will leave with an understanding and the ability to identify problems in the world that concern you, so to be able to name some of them and be able to talk about those. And to start to think about the emotions you might experience when you think about people in the world who are suffering or living in difficult situations. We might not be able to do anything about it, but it's important that we realise how that makes us feel and just accept that for what it is. So the first thing I want you to think about is what fair is to you. What does it mean? So to me, being fair is when. So what I'd like you to do in your books, if you have them, or on a piece of paper, is to write that starter of that sentence down, to me being fair is when, and finish it off in your own words. You might have a couple of ideas, so maybe you need to write a couple of sentences. Pause the video now and have a go at writing those down for me. Okay, so keep that in mind. Maybe you thought to me being fair is when everyone's treated the same. Maybe you thought fair is when everyone gets what they need, even if it's not the same. You might have a different idea. So we're going to have a look at some photos now and of different children all around the world. And I just want you to think about how they make you feel, what problems you think there are, and maybe how being fair might apply to them. So let's have a look. I'm going to start with these two here. So we've got a group of children here, and then we've got this young lad here. Think about them. Think about what problems they might be facing. Okay, so we've got two different images now of buildings. Think about people that might live in here, or might have lived in here. Think about problems they might be facing, how they may be feeling. Two pictures here. We don't know what's going on, but what do you think's going on? Maybe pause the video and have a talk if you have someone with you, or if not, have a think about what might be happening, what might be causing these two children to be in the position that they're in. What emotions do you think they are feeling? Got these two here. Again, different images. What do you think they represent? What might they be showing us? Okay, I'm just going to talk through them now, just so you get an idea of what sort of problems they're meant to represent and then how they might make you feel. So this first image here is meant to represent a war-torn country. You may notice in the background we have what looks like a shelter. And this is meant to represent children that are living in these conditions. So in countries like Syria, for example, where you've got children in refugee camps. This picture here is meant to represent disabilities and a child that has a disability and how they are managing with that. Here we have a natural disaster, or two natural disasters. We have what looks like being caused by an earthquake and flooding. We don't know what these two pictures are meant to represent. I have a look at this and I think she's clearly very unhappy about something, upset. It might represent bullying, maybe. It might represent difficulties in our home life. We just don't know. And again, this little boy here, we don't know what. I think that this is meant to represent a lovely household. He's clearly quite comfortable. He's tucked up in a nice, what looks like warm bed. If you compare that to the children here, we can see differences. So I think this is meant to represent the ideal situation. Whether you agree with that or not is entirely up to you. Again, down here we have a little lad who again looks like he's in some kind of camp of some kind, maybe a refugee camp, we don't know. He is covering his mouth. He looks like he's got a bit of a smile going on. Even despite his situation, he seems to be relatively happy. And then this image here is meant to represent terrorism. Again, different areas around the world, and how this might affect the lives of different people, and how this may make people feel, and how people may worry about this in different ways. While you're going through these, think about how much control over these different things the children had. Could they have done anything about these things happening to them? Are they within our circle of control? If they're not, does that affect how we worry about them? So we've had a look at the photo cards. Now I want you to think about how they've made you feel. Different ones would have been more powerful than others. And what I want you to do is to pick one of those pictures. You can rewind the video to have a look at them. And I want you to answer these 5 questions on that particular picture. Now, you don't need to do this written down. You can say this out loud if you want to. You can write it down if you prefer. But have a think about what the picture's showing, where the picture might have been taken. Have a guess. Use a reasonable amount of logic there to work out where it might have been. What might be the difficulty the child, people or person lives with in this situation? What might they be facing? What might help their situation? And how do you feel about the situation? And then your task for this lesson, these are obviously, a lot of these are examples of the world not being a good place for children and other adults and all sorts of people around the world. The point of this lesson is to think what the opposite of that would be and to think about what your dream for the world would be. And I'd like you either to write or draw something that represents it. So you could draw a picture to show what your dream world is. You might write a paragraph about what would be in your dream world, what would make it a better place. I look forward to seeing what you produce. There's no need to print anything. The pictures that I mentioned are, if you rewind, have a look back on the video. That might help you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our lessons. Thank you very much.